So my people, we live with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
And I'm Bell.
My name is Prentice.
And we are live on the Morehouse College campus with a live audience, studio audience episode, and it is about to go down.
All right, hold on. I feel like the listeners need to be able to. Hey, can y'all just make some noise to let people know y'all really up in here? Yeah. I want people to hear we got black men up in the space with us. It ain't just the three of us. Yeah, we here.
And y'all can't see them, but it's like 600 of them in here. It's crazy.
Hey, it may be like 900 in here right now.
Word, but let's get to it, fellas. Before we get into the episode, we always do a check-in because we don't oftentimes get a chance to ask a black man, how are you today? What's going on? So, Bellhead, you go first. Check in.
Oh, man. I'm good, man. We had some merchandise debacles. You know, we want to get some, you guys will see later. We got some Morehouse-inspired merch with the Morehouse colors. But
Bang.
It was a last minute delivery, so it brought a little anxiety, but we got it here. The trip was good. And the love, man, the love. I'm appreciating the love since we've been in the A. Mm-hmm. You know, like I'm appreciating the love and the support and people reposting our stuff and hitting us up. And you guys killed it last night at the Euro Cafe, the spoken word last night. I got a newfound appreciation for y'all and what y'all do in your craft and the art behind it. So that was real dope. I'm good, man. I'm looking forward to the rest of the evening. We're gonna be at Clark this evening. We're just running around after the show and see some people, kiss some babies. But yeah, man, I'm good. I feel comfortable in this space. It's a room full of black men, and I'm honored. I'm good.
P, check in. How you feeling?
Man, so if anybody knows me, they know that I have been one of the most avid weed smokers for about 15 years. I say that to say that today is my 33rd day of being sober and not smoking weed no more.
Shout out 33 days.
Man.
Yeah.
Shout out 33 days.
So the thing that, people have been asking me like, yo, what really inspired it? And I'm a beast with this writing. And I know when I don't smoke and I know when I'm not high, I'm a better and stronger writer.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what's wild? I've heard people say like when they get high, they get more creative.
So
it's
that's the
interesting
trap
that it works that way.
That's the trap I fell into. I fell into that trap because
Propaganda.
Artistically everybody smokes, right? So you just say it's part of being an artist in the culture, but it was that, and it was last month I was riding. I was at home in Oakland, and I was riding down the street. And probably within like a 12-block radius, I realized how many weed dispensaries there are in Oakland now. And there's a weed dispensary on like every third or fourth block in Oakland now. And it reminded me of the liquor store. And we know about the liquor stores, right? We know we're not going to find no vegetables in the liquor store. We know we're not going to find anything healthy. We're going to find hella soda, chips, Takis, hot pickles, but nothing that's healthy. And it started making me think like, yo, why do I feel like dispensaries are becoming the new liquor store? And I was like, so if I'm having this correlation, what am I really smoking? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they're not trying to, make me better or whole. So, it's been 33 days, man. And from mentally, emotionally, I am way more stable. Physically, it made a huge difference. I went to the Kings game with my man Devlin, shout out to D, a couple of days ago. And I got a contact high, and I didn't like it. And that was the thing that tripped me out, and I was happy because I got a contact high, and I was like, I don't like this feeling. Yeah. I don't like this feeling. I don't miss it. So yeah, man, I stopped smoking over a month ago. It's the first time I've been on this campus since my Black College tour, and I graduated in '99, so it's been a minute since I've been in the Morehouse, so it's dope. To be on this campus, and yeah, the show was dope last night. Shout out to Natrice having me out. But my daughter Shy started school yesterday.
I saw the picture, man.
Yeah, man, she started school yesterday. It was strategic that I wasn't there because I didn't feel like crying.
Yeah.
So
why not? Tell them why you don't want to cry.
I don't want to cry because she's been with me every day of her life since she was born.
Okay.
And now I got to give her up to school, and I'm not trying to cry.
I messaged Sarai when you had, or maybe it was you. like I struggled too. When we put Chase in daycare, bro, man, I was in the house pacing.
Bro.
Like I struggled, man.
Orientation, when we went to orientation, it was an hour orientation. We walked up into the daycare and she just bounced.
She was like, yeah, all right.
It made it
or
easier.
shy?
No,
Baby.
shy. She bounced, went on the slides, was playing with the kids, and I was just like, yo, like, you don't care? Like, you
don't care how I'm doing over
And so
here?
it made me feel better because I knew she was ready and prepared.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it felt a lot better, but I knew if I went and I dropped her off at school, that I was going to fold.
You're
And
gonna
I
be a
just
mess.
didn't want to fold.
Yeah,
So
you're
we
gonna be a
scheduled
mess.
it for right after I got on the plane. So yeah, it's my
Smart.
check-in,
That's
man.
fair.
Everything's good. People growing.
No doubt. On my end, man, everything is good. Kids are happy and healthy. I've been moving and shaking a lot. Poetry's taking me some beautiful places. I think I'm still jet lagged. I was recently in Brazil, y'all, doing some poems. Just got back on Sunday, worked 2 days, and got on the plane. I spoke at a school yesterday morning. As soon as I left there, got on the plane and came here. So I'm still tired a little bit, but I'm
Moving,
feeling.
man.
I'm
It's
feeling.
Let's talk about Brazil, man.
Yeah, how was that?
It was good, man. There's nothing really. I mean, it was.
Nothing to talk about?
No, I mean,
We
it's
always do that.
It,
We
just,
gonna
it
get
was.
you
It
off
was
of
dope.
that,
It was a
man.
dope experience, especially for poetry. To have taken me over there and just like, it's the country's full of culture. You know what I'm saying? So we did some real touristy stuff, which was dope. But the poetry nights were great, and you know, it was a great experience overall.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah. So let's hop into it, man. Where we at, Bellhead? Today's
today,
conversation.
today we're gonna discuss identity, because the thing is this, man. Identity is one of those things that you don't. Growing up, you don't hold on to it, right? You're evolving, right? Like you're going through your own evolution. So it's like you may start off with one identity, and then it'll shift as you get older. Your physical location changes, your peer group changes. But I thought it was important to talk about this because, like I said, no matter what, no matter where you are, you've been through an identity shift or you're heading towards one. So I want to read this statistic from U.S. News, and I'm reading from my phone because somebody had one job and failed miserably.
Job.
You know?
I was doing a workshop with kids yesterday, and I had a folder full of papers, and the paper was in there, and I was passing out to the kids, and I passed them the wrong paper. So when they gave it back, I just forgot to pick them up. I left them on the table.
Yeah,
So
that's cool, man. All
We
good.
got it, though.
Yeah.
Wait, you passed them out the treatment for the podcast?
Yeah, I had a bunch. They were in the pic. I had to give. There was a writing workshop, so I gave them some like a template to write on. And
You want him to be a special guest? Anyway, from the U.S. News, it says it can be difficult for young people to find a sense of purpose or identity amid constant comparisons to others within the digital world. The above statement rings true for 63% of 18 to 34-year-old respondents, according to a CVS Health and Harris poll, released during Suicide Prevention Month last September 2023.
It's a heartbreaking window into the mental health of today's young adults, considering more than a third of this age group also said they had moments in the past year when they contemplated suicide. That's bold.
Why you let me finish?
I didn't like
He
the way
didn't
you
like the way
was
you
reading.
was
I
reading?
whispered to President, I didn't like the way you was reading.
He said
It was
that.
bothering me.
Whatever.
But go ahead.
You just smashed them.
So this is important for me to talk about because I feel like I'll speak for myself. I feel like I've done enough work on myself to be able to identify when I had identity shifts and things like that. But I don't know that it's that conscious for everybody. And maybe it is. I don't know. This is what I want to talk about. I want to hear you guys' perspective. You know what I'm saying? But first, like the definition of identity, just so we all on the same page. Do you want to read this too?
No, you can
Okay.
read that.
Trying to play.
The fact of being who or what a person or thing is. All right? But that's the definition. But how do you guys define identity? Like, what is identity to you?
I don't know how to answer other than talk about like my right now with identity.
Okay, that's
Like,
fine.
I know I'm in the biggest identity shift of my life right now. I know that. I know that for an absolute fact. That right now with the Grammy nomination, with the kids getting older, with the experiences I've had with my children over the past year, one that was potentially traumatic. I'm in the biggest stage of identity shift right now in my life, and I feel like I have the most control. So when I think about identity, I feel like I hear the word choice. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like right now I'm in a space where I feel like I'm literally choosing who I'm becoming. You know what I'm saying? Like I've acknowledged like things I've been through. I've processed them, I think, from like a healthy space, and I'm now starting to make very, 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 very deliberate choices on what my identity is. And in the process of doing that, is bringing up some stuff that, you know, I really got to work through. So I'm feeling like identity is as evolving as you choose for it to be. Like your identity will stay the same if you don't choose to do anything different, or if you rely on other people to give you your identity. You know what I'm saying? Like if you rely on, if you wait for responses and you wait to hear how people speak about you to identify yourself, your identity is gonna be forever shifting, depending on where you at and who you're around. You know what I'm saying? But once you actually start to say, nah, this is who I'm gonna be, or even better, like this is who I am, and start to live that, you'll see that kind of manifest. So when I think of identity, I think of a choice. You know, I just don't know if all of us are as conscious, like you're saying, conscious of how much of a choice it really is, because we really can be whoever we want to.
Right. So just so everybody's aware, like we have a template of kind of questions we ask each other. We don't have this conversation like mapped out. So what you said just now, you use the words "who I'm becoming," and I think when people attach or identify the word or make identity to the word identifying, they put the title, the label on it. You know what I'm saying? I think identity is so much deeper than just being a doctor, a poet,
or existing,
a college student. You know what I'm saying? So you get that title versus who you really are.
Sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it goes to, does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I feel like you read another treatment I had talking exactly about that.
No, but
I feel like you stole my thunder.
No. He said who I'm becoming, and when I'm sitting here So I'm going, okay, so if I want to identify myself, what's the first thing I would say right now?
So I'm gonna get to that in a second. Okay. So when I think of identity, I love the choice. Like I love that you said that, but I don't believe that the choice is cognizant until you become an adult, or at least a young adult.
That's fair.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
So I feel like nature versus nurture, right?
Okay.
Like I feel like you can be put in a situation as a child, which let's just look at nature for a second, right? You can be put in a situation as a child, and as a result of whatever those circumstances are, like I don't have to label them, but whatever those circumstances are, that's who you can then identify with, right? It's like, this is probably an extreme example, but it's like the white boy who grew up in a black neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? He probably identifies more with black culture than white culture, right? Because that's the whole, you know, again, nature versus nurture. So what I'm saying is, like, that wasn't his choice. Like, his mom and dad put him there. So now that's how he identifies potentially. I'm just saying this is potential, right? I'm just giving you an example. So I think as you get older and you start to get more mature, right, and you start to see the world through your own lens instead of the lens that you're subject to. Subject to meaning we listen to our parents, well, your mom. But Chief didn't have a dad, Joe. That's why I be messing with him all the time. So you listen to your parents and you take everything they say at face value, right? And you're not maybe old enough to adapt your own reasoning, your own. It's gonna be redundant, but your own identity, right? You are looking for them for your identity.
So can that go back to the conversation we had in the very beginning? We talked about when the 8-year-old is told he is now the man of the house.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
So that identity was put on him.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I agree with you, Prentice. Like, it is a choice when you get older, but I don't know that it's a choice when you're young.
I don't think I think it's a choice only once you've identified that it's a choice. Like, I was tripping off this, so I went on an HBCU college tour. I made a choice to go to Hampton, right? Wrong choice. My perception of Morehouse has always been like the whole Morehouse man You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, you guys have always been the most prestigious black men just by how Morehouse College has been presented to me, right? Like, you guys have been the like cream of the crop, you know, the real studious brothers. And then I get here, and not saying anything in opposition, but then I start having conversations with brothers who go to Morehouse, and I realize there's a lot more to you than the image that's been portrayed to me of what brothers who go to Morehouse are and are about, right? Like, you guys all come from different places, have different conversations, different experiences, but I think that goes to show, even in like young adulthood, we're still funneled into these identity spaces where we're not necessarily given a choice. We're now acclimated into a new space. And yes, it gives us character and everything, but I feel like, I'm just using that as an example, like depending on where you go as a man, as you evolve, you're still being fed certain identities, so it's still hard to make the choice.
Yes,
you get what I'm saying?
I do, but I also believe that some of those choices are being made for you in your best interest.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you're still not at a place that you can. I don't want to say think for yourself, because that's a bit much, but you're still in a place where you don't know as much as someone that's teaching you.
Right.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like you don't know what you don't know. You know, and it's like, I've been pushed to go to Morehouse, and I may not have gone to Morehouse, but since the people around me said, no, this is where you need to go so you can become a Morehouse man, then I'm like, now I can then accept that identity after the choice has kind of been made for me.
So I heard I'm listening to what you said. You said people are teaching us things that they believe to be in our best interest.
Right.
So when my mother would sit back and tell me, you're the man of the house at 8 years old, in her head, I'm raising my son to be a man, not realizing the trauma
Yeah,
that
100%.
carries with you because I was forced to be a man at 8 years old. Or the man at 8 years old instead of,
She was well intended.
Right.
Yeah, she was well intended.
But that's, it's a subconscious traumatic
because
impression.
Because here's the reality. If you're embracing the man of the house, when are you ever gonna embrace the 8-year-old you?
Right. When do you get to
can't.
be a child? Right.
That's how it was for me.
You see what
Mom
I'm
had
saying?
me driving at 12 years old, running errands at 12 in the car, like on the freeway,
Yeah.
sitting on a pillowcase driving. And I thought about it, like the concept of being a man, I've had to do everything like my whole life. And then I grow older and I start dating and I'm with women. And then all of a sudden I got somebody telling me that I'm not a man. You know what I'm
you mean?
saying?
I've been driving since I was 12.
Right, I've
Yeah.
been doing
taking
this,
the
paying
trash out since I was
bills, doing all this stuff since I was little. I could build you a fireplace, paint a whole house. I could do carpentry, all this. And all of a sudden I got these women telling me, you not man enough for me. You know what I mean? So then there's an identity conflict right there where it's like, wait a minute, I thought my mama said that, you know, I've been a man
Right.
since I was 12
Right.
years old, and now here you a stranger, you know what I mean? And you telling me that I'm a little boy. Like,
Yeah.
wait, who am I?
Because the crazy shit is this. It's like you stepped into an identity that you weren't ready to step into.
Boom.
So you can't fully develop as a child or a man. How crazy is that?
It's wild,
You
bro.
can't develop as a child because you think you're the man.
Mm-hmm.
You can't develop as a man because you're a child. You see what I'm saying?
What do you do?
Bars.
Right? Like,
What do you
That's
do?
crazy.
that's what
That's
I'm saying.
wild.
So we sit in this limbo, like this emotional limbo growing up.
And then back to your original point that you had said, you can find yourself looking for your identity in others or
Yeah.
things, right? Like
Yeah.
you can be like, well, I'm a man because I make this much money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that don't make you a man. That makes you maybe potentially the breadwinner in the house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not, you making the most money is not an identity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's pull it forward to the college days. Can you reflect back on how you identified in those moments on campus? Because I think for me, I was just a college football player. Like that was my identity.
That's
like,
fair.
That's what I
That's
carried
fair.
around. I was a college football player. I was that guy, and that was it. There was nothing outside of football. You know what I'm saying?
I was reckless. I pledged, and after that, life was great. I had a great time.
But how'd you identify though?
I don't think I did because I was into the poetry. So, and I ended up dropping out of school to do poetry. And then, you know, back when we was in college, like dropping out of school was like frowned upon. Like wanting to be an entrepreneur and independent
Right.
wasn't a dope move back then. Like when I came home from Hampton, that was like everybody was disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Like you had an opportunity to go to a HBCU and you messed that up. So,
On scholarship at that.
Yeah.
Does that shift? Like, so think about that. He's in school, a scholarship, a scholar. You know what I'm saying? A full scholarship student, and then you go home, and now you're the one who came back, and everybody disappointed.
Are you going to community college?
Do you identify then as the failure?
Yes, that's exactly what I was. Yeah, I was a failure because everybody was disappointed in me, and on top of that, I don't like school. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like school. I never really liked school that much. I knew I wanted to be an alpha. I knew that. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't really enjoy school, and then I had the opportunity to go to Europe for 2 weeks and ended up being out there for 3 months, traveling, doing poetry, and discovered what I love. And then I had to go back home and be like, you know what? I know it's Manly D's scholarship, but I think I want to do these poems. And then all of a sudden I got a new group of people who are disappointed in me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you feel like you find some direction and passion. Well, for me, I felt like I had some passion and direction, but at the same time, I'm being frowned upon in all these other areas of my life, so I don't know what is acceptable. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, making the right move. But again, nowadays, fast forward now, like everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, right? Like it seems like a degree is not enough. You have to have a personal, private skill set or something else, a hustle, a passion that you want to do, and that's accepted now. So it's, to me, I look at it as being different. But I definitely I felt like a failure while trying to feel like something else.
So I wrote down, what was the original question?
Just if you took yourself back to
college,
college,
how did you identify? All right, so I'll answer that question and I'll touch on that. My identity was the same, bro. Like I was a football player. Like I was like, man, I'm an athlete. I'm a student athlete. And another thing that we discussed a while ago is how we were just angry in college and didn't know it.
Yeah.
Like we were angry, and I still to this day don't really know why I was angry. If I really sat back and thought about it, I could probably figure it out.
I think it's more so because we grew up in the same city, so I think it has a lot to do with our upbringing. Because I didn't realize it until we started the group chat with my college teammates about 5 years ago, and they're talking and like Chief's angry, like yo, Chief gonna do this. And I'm like, yo, I'm not that dude anymore. Like, but I didn't realize then that I was the angry dude in college. You know what I'm saying?
That's the point.
Yeah. So my college coach, my football coach, shout out to T. Rich, man, I love him to death. I talk to him every month, and he is like, man. He's like, man, what is wrong with you? Like, he used to say that to me all the time, man. He's like, why are you so angry? Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, and I always felt like I was misunderstood. You know what I'm saying?
Tell me, how so? Because I had the same thing too. But.
Because I just felt like at the time, like I had my daughter. Like when I got to college, my daughter was 3. You know what I'm saying? So she was 3 years old. I had that going on, and we was also so close. Like I was 45, 50 minutes from the house. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of influence from home still going on, and I think I carried a lot of that. Like I carried resentment towards my daughter's mother for not being around. I carry resentment towards this is crazy. I carry resentment towards myself a little bit because I was in college and the people I cared about wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Like
so I think,
remorse kind of?
yeah. So I think all of that played a part in my identity.
So I don't think we've ever had this conversation. The people don't know. Bell had his first child at 15. What the hell was identity like at 15 years old with a child, bro?
Yeah, hey man, you're getting it how you live. Like I didn't slow down. Like I didn't slow down to figure out. Well, I take that back. When my daughter was first born, I identified with a failure, right? Like you talked about, I identified as a failure because I'm like, bro, I'm 15 years old with a whole child. You know what I'm saying? And we was broke, so it ain't like I can look at my mom and go, she can take care of him financially, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. But I identified as a failure because I was an athlete, and again, it was one of those situations where I was a knucklehead. You know what I'm saying? Got arrested at 12 and gang, all this stuff, like. So when 3 years later, when that happens, it's like, because when I went to juvenile detention, I came home, I made a decision to change my life at 12 years old. So then I'm going down the right path. And then that happens.
Boom, you have a baby.
You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, and this is actually interesting. So at that point, I immediately identified as a failure, and almost like everybody was right about me. But the thing that changed was now you got a whole human being that's depending on you. So I always say, like, if I didn't have her, I could have potentially still head down that wrong path. But when she's there, now it's like, now you got accountability. Now you gotta figure this out. So I didn't have time to, once I got through the failing and I realized that I'm gonna figure it out and I'm just gonna push forward. Once I got through that, it was almost like I'm just gonna protect and provide. That's it. Because like we talk about fatherhood and all that stuff, and I talk about how my dad was always there, but he's not the most emotional guy and he's not the most articulate guy, but he's always there. And my dad, the two things he ingrained in me is protect and provide. That's it. Like his famous line was like, I don't give a shit if I gotta rob somebody, y'all gonna eat. Mm-hmm. Right? And he probably just wanted to rob somebody, right? it had nothing to do with us eating.
He definitely robbed a couple people so you could eat.
Yeah, but it's just like, that's just how he was wired. So anyway, it was protect and provide. So that's how I got through it. So that I'm gonna wrap it up with this. That period was kind of a blur. So when I was in college, my coach used to always say, like, when I got custody of my daughter, he was like, yo, let's do a story on you. I'm like, no, bro, I don't want to publicize this. Mm-hmm. Like, this shit is traumatic. Like, this shit is tough. But I didn't know how to articulate that, you know what I'm saying, at the time. But what I realized is the reason why I didn't even want to have another kid after her is because of all the trauma associated with identity, with raising a child, with all these responsibilities. It's like, no, I barely got through it. I don't want to relive this by way of questioning me on certain things and me having to speak out these experiences. See what I'm saying? So, yes, I identified in college as a father, a provider, an athlete, and obviously I got a lot of girls too. So, yeah.
Wow.
I got a question for y'all. You said, Chief, like in the group text there, like, Chief's about to be angry, and you were like, I'm not that dude anymore. Mm-hmm. I got a question. So, what do you do, like, how do y'all handle that shift of I'm not that dude anymore when it comes to your identity? Because I find myself evolving, changing, and when I think of that phrase, I'm not that dude anymore, I think of the women I have children with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think of, like, when we were sitting here earlier and I get a text message about my daughter and it's a certain tone that I don't really like.
That's a different struggle. You got the 4 for 4.
Yeah, I got 4 with 4. But what I'm 4 for 4, the Wendy's pack. But, like, I'm not that dude anymore in the sense of, like, I'm reading the text messages and I'm listening to her tone. And the old me is gonna respond a whole lot different than the new me. You know what I mean?
I still had when you were texting, I was like, P, don't send that. Take that first sentence out.
I'm evolving, but it's a process. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta give me some grace.
I literally was like, yo, P, take that first sentence. I was like, nah, blood, I'm gonna put that in. Yo, take that out. It's not a good idea.
A lot of times, like, we go through these identity shifts and we know we're changing, but other people around us want to hold us in that same spot we leaving from. Y'all go through that? You know what I mean? Like, you want to evolve, and you know you growing. You know, like, I know I'm doing better, but you keep trying to hold me over here, and I know I'm not that dude anymore, but then I feel traces.
Yo, y'all want me to tackle this?
No, hold on. So the reality is you have to show and prove, bro. You can't give them any glimpses or signs of the person you used to be. The only way they can believe you is by seeing that. So when she goes, and you're just like, yo.
I'm not referring just to that.
But in general, when the dude is doing this, you're like, yo, that kind of hurts. Could you please stop? Rather than turn around and punch him in his mouth.
Check this out.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to show and prove. It has to look different.
It's not always that easy.
It's definitely not. Listen.
Hey, hold 1 second. You were there. So there was a pretty traumatic experience I went through. The first time I flew Prentice to Connecticut to perform, pretty traumatic experience going on right outside my house. And to this day, he's like, yo, the way you handled that was something I couldn't imagine. Like, so for that,
I'd have been locked up.
So and again, super calm. I've developed, and I was the hothead. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to look in the middle of the chaos and go, you know what? That ain't it. Go do this, do that, and take it easy. You have to show and prove and be different. So now, if I would respond the way I wanted to, we wouldn't be.
Let's back up for a second. So the original question was, how do you handle the identity shift?
The
right?
identity shift of not being that person anymore while being unable to escape, like, because, you know, sometimes it be our mama who holds us in a certain space. Sometimes it's our brother, people that we can't necessarily escape. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not
no,
as
you're right.
simple as just cut them off and don't deal with them anymore.
100%. It's like this. I think Chief is right, where he's like, you have to show and prove. The thing is this, man. People are always going to, at some level, I wrote this down earlier, but I can say it now, project their insecurities onto you. At some level, right? Like something that, the example I always use, with my salespeople and stuff like that, they're like, yeah, Bells, I'm calling on this account, but nobody's ever broke it before, so I don't know. Like, the line I always used to them is when I was in college and I would go try to talk to a girl and we'd be in a bar and the guy like, man, I just try to talk to you. She ain't gonna talk to you. Like, we ain't the same. Like, we is not the same, bro. Like, you ain't me, you know?
Right.
So that's the approach I take on everything. Like, so if somebody says, well, it's never been done before, like, well, it ain't never been done before by me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, the short answer is you have to believe in who you are today,
That's
right? Like, stop talking. You have to believe in who you are today. Because it's like this. People will always try to drag you back. Why? Because you going to that next level or that new shift is going to make them feel real uncomfortable. Yeah. Why? Because in a lot of cases, y'all grew up under the same circumstances. The difference is you made a choice, right? You made a choice that they weren't willing to make for one reason or another. They weren't willing to make. So now you are making them uncomfortable by showing them that there is possibilities outside of these circumstances that they may or may not have just succumbed to. And the way that you stand on that is with consistency. Because you do it for a week, you do it for a month, hell, you do it for a year. Again, this is another thing I should say, I don't think those people have malice. Like, I don't think your mom, your dad, like, because same thing. Like, when, man, you know how hard it was, bro? When I moved into my house outside of my mom's, like, out, not living with my parents anymore, and then they came to my house and all the comments that they made about where I live and all this and like, bro, that shit's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. But you have to stand on. Nah, I'm doing this for me. It's not about y'all.
That's what I wrote down, to self. The showing and proving. Obviously, you want them to view it from a different light, but ultimately, you have to show yourself that you are not that person anymore. It's identity, not we identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's me. It has to be self.
I find myself having, like, after the Grammy nomination, it's forced me to have to, like, stand in my square. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to actively practice the reinforcement of who I am for real, because it's crazy how achieving something or success can expose other people's, like, bitterness for your development and your growth. And because have grown up overly humble, which I think is a detriment. The humility thing I think is a detriment. Because I've grown up always having a gift and always having light and being able to dim it, but still shine beyond most people, even while I'm dimming it, I've had to find myself now being like, I'm not flipping off my switch for nobody. And so when I first started doing it, I had to find the sweet spot. Like, I was going too far. You know what I mean? Like, I'm standing in my square, you know, talking my shit, like, you know, but then I was like, that's not really me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not that braggadocious.
So it's almost like faking it till you make it a little bit?
Right,
yeah.
Right. So then I had to find the sweet spot, like dim it down, and now I feel like I'm getting to a comfortable spot, and it's consistent, and it feels natural.
Sometimes you have to say it, speak it, whether it's real or not.
Right, until you...
But you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be like, oh, nah, I'm this now, and you're not doing the work. Because the people that you're talking about, they're going to see right through that. And they're like, nah, man, give him a week. You know what I'm saying? As soon as he hit a roadblock, then the true apprentice is going to come out.
Something's going to expose you and let you know what you speak and you really standing on.
Look at how this conversation is constantly reverting back to how people see us and how we're dependent on how people see us. And again, it's identity.
No,
you know what I'm saying? But we can't. We're continuing, no matter how we do it, to allow the people outside of us.
I don't know that it's always people. I think it could be things.
True.
And I'll explain. True. Right. So I work in a sales organization, and it's very common for somebody in my company to attach themselves to their excuse me, sales number, right? So they demand, right, based on numbers. What happens is, soon as that is stripped away from one reason or another, is stripped away, they lose themselves because their identity is rooted in something superficial. It's not rooted in who you are. Like the line I always say, Jay-Z says, shout out to Jay-Z, he's my favorite artist. He says, you are who you were when you got here. You know what I mean? So it's like the person who you are at your core, speaking in that same sales scenario, allowed you to get to that high number, right? The number doesn't define you. But sometimes when we don't do the self-work and find our greater, deeper purpose, we're gonna, I got the baddest chick in the club, right? You're gonna identify, you know what I'm saying? I got the biggest house on the block. You're gonna find identity in that, and it's like, bro, that is
temporary.
Yeah. Like temporary is an understatement. Right. Like that is fragile. Like that's fragile because then it's like a house. There's no foundation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're not building on nothing, once that circumstance is changed,
you change. Are you. Yeah, exactly. There's no permanency in it.
And then it's like all these things that you've been pushing aside because you're the man based on whatever that thing is now comes to the light.
Yep.
And now you got to deal with it. But the thing is, you not even in the mental capacity, you had a mental mindset to deal with it because you now dealing with your identity being stripped away. So you don't even know who you are in that moment while having to reconcile all these feelings that you've been pushing away because you've been the man. You see what I'm saying?
That's heavy.
So it's like, it's people, yes, but it's also self-imposed. You know what I'm saying? Like what we attach it to.
And then it comes like this.
No, I'm just curious. So we talk about all this, but how self-aware were you? I think, so as we've continued to cultivate in this space, we've become abundantly self-aware and can point out our shortcomings in many areas. But as it pertains to college students, how self-aware were you in college? Did you have enough wherewithal to look in the mirror and go, bro, like you?
Nope.
I did. I think I've always been self-aware. Like I knew. I sometimes I'd sit on the porch of my frat house and just be like, "P, you are wilding right now." You know.
Oh, I mean, I've had that
in different ways, but I don't think I had the tools, or the resources, or the support to make any pivots. You know what I mean? I just had my 20-year-old brain.
Right.
What's that look like?
What does what look like?
Having tools, resources, or support
back then in college.
Shit, I got an example too, but I'll let you go.
No, I don't necessarily know because I'm thinking from my adult brain now.
So what I'll say is this: I'm a self-aware person, very self-aware, but that only pertains to certain aspects of my life, right? Most aspects, I'll say. But the first time I battled depression was in college. I didn't know I was depressed, even though I'm so self-aware. Like, I didn't know I was depressed. So, one, mental health in 2004, whatever year that was, wasn't promoted as something that college athletes or any student should take advantage of. So I didn't know that was something that I could even lean on. Two, I'm such a competitor. I'm like, I'm gonna shake this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna shake this.
It ain't gonna beat me.
But yeah, it ain't gonna beat me. But it's like, I don't even know what I'm fighting.
Right. I'm just upset.
I don't know what I'm fighting. So it's like, how I'm gonna beat it if I don't even know who the enemy is, who the opponent is. So the tools and resources for me at that time would have been awareness. Like awareness and outreach and resources. And now, hey, I'm not even saying that if those things are available, I would have utilized them. I don't know.
Did you, I mean, I know you did. Did you have a mentor at that level? I got asked yesterday, what is the most important message I want to give my students that I was talking to yesterday?
Yeah.
And I was like, find a mentor.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, KB, I've known him since I was 11. He actually was my pro.
Just passed away?
Yeah, KB. He was my pro-fight for my chapter as well. But at the same time, you can have a mentor, but you got to be aware enough to go seek them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can be there for the resources, but you gotta have some type of awareness that actually compels you to go to them, because it's not like all mentors are just like, hey, bro, I'm here anytime. Let me reach out 24/7. But if you reach out, they're there for you. And so I had mentors who were there for me, but I just didn't have the awareness to, or I think the drive or motivation. Like I could find different pockets to keep getting me through life. You know what I'm saying? To where I didn't have to.
And the other thing too is we may not have been ready to address those things.
So here's the thing. We're not self-aware enough to recognize that there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
2, when we do, we don't really know what the problem is. And 3, we've been told growing up the whole time, like what goes on in this house stays in this house. And as a man, you ain't supposed to cry, you ain't supposed to feel, you're supposed to push through and keep going. You dig what I'm saying? So we get to college and we in this space and don't have anyone to talk to because we were told we shouldn't be talking, because we don't know what we're dealing with, but we know something's not right. And we're still sitting in the middle of all this chaos.
And we're black.
And
Like we're black men.
How do y'all identify now?
What I need more. What do you mean?
Whatever it means to you. How do you identify now?
I'm in progress, man. I mean good progress, but I'm in progress, bro. Like I'm in progress. I can't pinpoint my identity yet. I know I'm going somewhere, but I'm in progress. Like I'm definitely in progress.
Yeah, I'd say that's similar, shifting. I feel it.
Yeah, get closer.
Oh, like similar. I feel it. Like I feel myself shifting in terms of like my mentality and things I have lined up, and there's a lot more structure now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm moving. And again, a lot of it has to do with how we move within the podcast. You know what I'm saying? So I think.
Yeah, I think.
Let me ask the question a different way. What are you founded in?
Ooh, well, I know what I'm not founded in. You know what I mean? Like, I know what I'm not. And oddly for me right now, the success is teaching me what I am rooted in. You know what I mean? Like, the things that are happening for me on a career level and the magnitude is teaching me a lot about who I am at my core. I'm, like, proud of the fact that I'm not responding or reacting a certain way to certain opportunities or achievements that I watch a lot of people kind of label themselves. Like you were saying, we label ourselves by numbers sometimes or monetary things or items. And I'm glad that I'm reaching a level to teach me that I'm not as superficial as I may think. You know
I just when you said label, I was like, you better not ever walk up on somebody and be like, I'm Grammy nominated Prentice Powell. We gonna have a
we
problem.
might, yeah.
Like, yo,
no, I may do that. It depends on where I'm at. I may have to.
I'm Grammy nominated Prentice Powell.
Do that.
Yeah. No, like in a situation where it's advantageous for me.
No.
Give me a scenario. I'm
what scenario? How do you validate that?
If I'm talking to Oprah and
She
we're having a
knows
She knows
conversation.
who you are.
If you're talking to
If you're
Oprah.
talking to-
No.
If you're talking to Oprah, she know who you are.
Well, listen, bro. If I see Oprah out here and we walking on campus, I may have to be like, "Hey, Oprah, I love what you do. By the way, my name is Prentice Powell. I just recently got nominated for a Grammy. But anyway, something. But I'm not gonna walk up to these brothers and be like, "What's up, bro? My name is Prentice. I was nominated for a Grammy." That's corny. Like that's weak. But I realize that I'm rooted in. I told y'all a couple of months ago. I want a foundation and some more principles. And I remember I told y'all like a year ago in the episode
the integrity episode.
Yeah,
right?
I realized that I didn't at that time have core principles. So I'm really focused on figuring out what my principles are and how to live by that. Because I know if I establish some principles, start to live by them, I'll see things manifest in my life that either show me that these are aligning with where I need to be going or they're not.
Have you not though? Because
Have I not what?
We've been on your heels.
Yeah.
We've been on your heels, bro.
I know.
And it's also shaping you to shift those things and find that core.
But you can't tell him what he has and what he doesn't have. If he's telling you that he's still working on it, then that's probably the truth.
No, I think I may have developed some, but I think that's just me out of the three of us. Like, you know, my emphasis is principles now. Like, I want to have some core things so that I don't stray. So my identity stays solid and it can go a couple of places, but I always have a home, like a base to come back to. What are you rooted in?
Hey, man.
Outside of protect and provide.
No, I'm gonna tell you like this. So this is a scenario where, like, I'm gonna talk my shit, right? Like, I don't do that. Like, that's Prentice's thing. I don't do that. But listen, I'm a winner, right? Like, I'm gonna finish, right? Whatever it is, I'm gonna finish, for better or worse. If I tell you I'm gonna do something, it's gonna get done, for better or worse, right? Like, didn't serve me that well when I was young. Because you gotta, in the heat of the moment, like when I see him going upside his head, then now you gotta do it, right? So it's like stuff like that. But I'm a winner, and like I'm gonna always figure it out. Like I'm never worried about it getting out of hand, ever. Like
Yeah.
no matter what the scenario is, I'm never worried about it getting out of hand. I'm like I manage crisis well because part of the reason that I'm on the podcast is because I don't process emotion fast. You see what I'm saying? So like if I'm in a crisis right now, I won't process that emotion till when I'm through it.
You know what's crazy? I've said this, but when you said that, like, in terms of how you process emotion, like I think I process emotion very, very fast, but I also my responses are a lot more calculated because I can feel it right then and there. But how I respond to those emotions are different. Think about it. It was today. What'd you say? Oh, you upset? But what I do? I sat here the whole time like, yeah, I didn't like that. I was in my feelings, but it was like I didn't like that. Normally I'd be like, yo, it would have been some smoke.
Right.
It couldn't have been no smoke.
We
got to do the podcast.
No, but it would have been some smoke. But I'm sitting here going, yeah, I didn't like that.
Okay.
I didn't like that.
Hey, elevator.
You can't get away with that, bro.
You did it, not me.
You dragged that situation. It wasn't me.
No,
tell it again. Go ahead.
I don't want to tell it.
Okay, good.
Y'all can listen to one of our million episodes.
We're not doing that. By the way, when I
elevator.
was in Brazil, spoke to no one in the elevator. Walked in, head
Good
down.
job. I'll just tell the story quick for context.
Real quick, so y'all know.
So we were at Prentice's wedding in San Francisco, beautiful hotel, and there was on the elevator that you can see the city. So you're
St. Francis Hotel.
Yes, you're in the elevator, but you can see the city, and it's just nice. So Chief is looking out the window, and we're just looking. It's in the morning, mind you, and white dude comes on the elevator on his phone, just like this, like a lot of people these days, and then Chief says good morning, and the dude doesn't respond. And then Chief says it more forcefully. Good morning.
According to Bell.
No. Then the guy gets startled. And he's like, oh, good morning. And then now it just made me really uncomfortable.
So that's you.
Let me finish. So I'm like, what if that man didn't want to speak to you? Like, that's his right. Like, he doesn't have to speak to you. And then Chief's like, well, it's just the right thing to do. Like, I said good morning, you should say good morning. But I'm like, no, he doesn't have to do anything. I'm like, what if, and then he was like, well, I'm just trying to make him feel more comfortable. I'm like, well, what if his comfort level is not speaking to you? I'm like, so now that just is counterintuitive to what you're trying to get accomplished. So that's a scenario where that was not calculated.
And then today we had a moment where he would have preferred that somebody engaged with him with a different energy and tone than he did. So he was sitting up here at the table kind of like, hey, man, that wasn't cool. That wasn't cool. And I was like, you doing the elevator thing again, bro. Like,
but I didn't
you got to
address
let
him.
it go. Like, there's nothing you can do.
I wanted to be like, yo, that's not cool, bro. Like, I wanted to.
Yo,
it
can I
would have
just
been
say
some
something,
tension.
man? I
oh
feel
my
like,
God, here we go.
Feel like,
I'm always the guy.
I feel like every time you find you find a way to get into it with somebody that has something to do with like. With something, right?
Here's the thing.
I think about Trinity on Main, and there was an issue there too.
That was different.
I don't know.
Money was wilding. That was different.
But
that was different. He deserved that. But even then, I didn't like your interpretation of getting into it and mine are completely different.
Right.
I felt a certain way about it. I sat here, dealt with it, and didn't say anything when I could have.
I wasn't here. Prentice was here for that.
Okay.
Did I say anything? Mookie. Did I say anything to him?
No, don't go to Mookie. No.
There's
a difference between dealing with it and simmering in that shit. You simmer.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you don't engage, but you sit here like,
I process my emotions. Is that okay?
But why does actually, I don't. This is going to go on to.
Am I not allowed the liberty to process my emotions?
You identify as an angry man.
I sat here and I was triggered by something and I processed my emotions and got through it.
My only thing I'll say
is, you through it?
Only thing I'll say is you can get triggered very easily.
I don't disagree with that.
So what I'm saying is you now give people the autonomy to manage your emotions because of how you're triggered.
And it
That's
sits
a
there
fact.
with you.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna make this Get On Chief episode, but it does it
By the way,
it
that
sits
happens
with
like
you.
every other episode. Get
It
On
does.
Chief episode.
But you
Because you need
sits with
therapy,
you.
bro.
I'm in therapy.
We all do.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
No, but that's it. That when I talk about you, is you just let little shit like get to you, bro, and it's just like that is not a good use of your energy, your time, and your emotion.
I don't disagree with that, but we have been on the other end of the spectrum where little shit gets to me and it turns into something completely different.
Right, but you're still holding on to it. You're just managing the result.
So can you acknowledge the progress, or are you still gonna beat me down because I'm emotional?
No. What I'm saying is you didn't handle the core.
Like what we doing?
At your core, it's still getting to you.
Yeah, but some things that get to you won't bother me either. So
All right, what's the next?
Anyway,
the next line?
I wanted to end with how were we identifying today? So, like I said, I protect, provide, right, executor, and I also pride myself on just being a stand-up person. Like I pride myself on saying like nobody can say like Bell did me wrong, like Bell swindled me or something like that. Like I don't. That's not who I am at my core. But that's how I identify currently. But
that's fair.
But I think we probably got all the questions.
Yeah, we tackled it. We moved through this, and I thought it was dope and a good conversation. We obviously we've learned that we've been at it for a while, and our chemistry moves. But I think just when we have these conversations, like, oh, I didn't think about that. It's always you know what I'm saying? Every episode.
Moment. Yeah,
aha moment every episode. So I think it's awesome. You let's open the floor.
Well, let's do our final thought.
Okay.
And then we'll open it up. Yep.
So we typically close every episode with a final thought, kind of whatever nuggets we took from the conversation, and in short, this is what we took, and hopefully you take it too. So P, what's up? Final thought.
Final thought. Sometimes it's okay to not know exactly where you are. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's okay, like to just be in this space of existing and just evolving, you know what I mean? Like, and I think it's important to give ourselves grace and to be kind to ourselves in the process of maybe feeling like we don't have a core identity, because the truth is, regardless of how old we are, whether you're 20, you're 40, you're 50 or 60, evolution exists as long as you're breathing. You know what I'm saying? So just, give yourself grace, and as long as I think you have good intentions and you're putting some effort into evolving in a positive way, you'll find some type of direction.
Go ahead, check in. Final thought. Sorry.
Yeah. I think we all identify as something. Like I feel we all identify as something. Now that identity could be, wrapped around some machismo. It could be wrapped around some trauma even that you may not be willing to address. But we all identify as something. And I think there's a population of people who operate from like ignorance is bliss, right? Like I'm just existing, right? They may be evolving or they may be detracting, right? Like, but something's happening and they're rooted in something. Mm-hmm. And I think we should all take some time to figure out what that is. Because that identity this may or may not be serving you any longer, right? I talked about it a couple episodes ago. It's like how you identified as a 22-year-old college student
is different.
It could be different than how you identify now. And hey, maybe that identity at that time was out of necessity and it was essential for survival or whatever the case. But you may not be in that situation anymore. And now some of those things are still showing up and there's no reason for them to, because you're no longer in those circumstances. And sure. I think it takes time for us to sit back and acknowledge that or understand that it could be happening and what areas we can adjust.
I think for my final thought, to put everything all together, I think recognizing that your identity will shift over the course of time, but your foundation shouldn't. Dependent. If you have a solid foundation of moving with integrity and principle, as long as you carry that foundation moving forward and your identity shifts, that's fine. But at the core of who you are, you get to be, like my man said, a solid brother, a solid person. And at the end of the day, no one really cares how much you make, how good you dribble a ball, how smart you are.
That's a fact.
If you ain't a good person, you can't be in my circle.
That's a fact.
So keep your foundation tight and the rest is easy. Fair?
Good.
All right. So this has been another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy.
Like,
we
share,
can
subscribe.
be found on all social media outlets. For those people in the crowd right now, pull your phone out. tap into our YouTube channel, All Black Men Need Therapy. Subscribe. We're on all social media outlets at All Black Men Need Therapy. We have a voice line for those, in the middle of a struggle or something you want to reach out. We are not therapists, but we've been through some stuff. We're willing to help, and we listen well. 860-410-6160. If you want to hit us up directly, we all have an email account, Chief, Bell, or Prentice at ABMNT.com. You can email us there for the group, All Black Men Need Therapy at gmail.com. But that's it for our episode. Do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
Do it.
And tomorrow.
Do it.
We out, y'all.
Peace.